In this video we'll show how to get a file ready to cut to the plotter. So the first thing that we're going to do here is select just the pieces that we want to cut. We don't need the top or the base, we'll just select the middle pieces here. So just a marquee, drag around those middle pieces. Anything that's completely inside the box gets selected, and then I want to hit the plot page. What that does is it creates a copy. So I had my original page here, and then it created a second page as a copy there, and that way it will be able to cut without having to mess with the original. So first things first, there's a couple things that we'll need to change here really quick. When we went to the plot page, it's actually set to get rid of contoured things. And so this had a contour under 0.09. So in order to contour that again, I'll just hit the frosted outline button. What I'll need to do in future versions is actually have it to break those contours apart for us instead of just deleting them. The next thing is, if you look down here, the beloved husband, father, and grandfather, that's actually in a paragraph text box, which we don't want it to be in a paragraph text box. We want it to be artistic text. So we'll go up to text and say convert to artistic text, or Control F8, and that will take it out of that box and turn it into artistic. You can always, if you wanted to, go back and turn it into paragraph text, but for monuments we don't really use paragraph text. That's meant more for books and web pages and brochures and that sort of stuff. This box here, I think that's probably just a reference, so I don't know that we'll necessarily need that one, so I'll just delete that so that we don't cut it. Since we used frosted outline on this, it actually filled it in. I don't want it to be filled in, so I can select it. Holding down Shift, I can click on Fill Grayscale here, and that takes out all of the colors for us. Using the Zoom tool, I will click and drag around my hat here to see what we need to do for the hat. If we look at this, we've got overlapping pieces. There's a couple things we can do. We can virtual segment delete those, but it's actually going to be faster if we just select the one. These pieces are already combined, so if I just select this and hold down Shift and select this other piece, then I can weld those together. So welding would take care of that for us. Or the other way, I just did an undo, Control Z. The other way is to use virtual segment delete. I can come in here and either click on a line that I want to delete, or click and drag a marquee, and anything that touches that marquee ends up getting deleted. I can click and drag and click and drag. Welding though is going to be the easiest way of doing it, so I will just weld that together. Alright, then over here on this other one, let's zoom in to see that. So if we look right here, this is darker than the rest, which to me means that something odd is going on. So I'm going to go up to Object and say Break Curve Apart. That way I can click on this individually and see what's going on. So somehow that got duplicated a number of times. That's why it was so thick, so I can just get rid of those duplicates. I'm not sure why it had been duplicated to begin with, but I'm just clicking and dragging to see if there's anything else that got duplicated. Okay. I might possibly want to edit this curve just a little bit, give it a little bit more room. Double clicking on a node will delete it. And I can just change the curve here a little bit. There are some parts there. There's some parts here that are pretty thin. So I do all my touch-ups here. I'll probably actually touch the design up itself before ever sending it to the plot page, but since I noticed it, I'll go ahead and do that. hitting F4, I can zoom to all again. So this X here, that should not cut, but if we're worried about it cutting, we can select that and right click on it and say frame type none, and that will get rid of the X. What that is it's because we had a power clip there, it's showing that that was a power clip container, which it really shouldn't cut that way, but just in case it does, we'll get rid of it. So now that we've got everything ready to send to the cutter, we just have to hit the AI export button, and what that does is it will send the file, whatever we have it named, it'll send it to our My Documents folder. So it'll send it to the My Documents /MemorialDESIGNER/export folder, and it's going to be at the top of my list since I sort by date modified. So this AI file, all we need to do is bring that into whatever program that we need to in order to cut. Actually, one other thing on this file before we export it is if we go to the wireframe, we'll see that there's a box here. We'll delete that one, and a box here, and we'll delete that one. Looking at the original, those, hit V to go back to enhanced, that was the this lens here that's given us the transparency, so we'll need to delete those. We don't want to cut those. So now if I go to wireframe versus regular, there's no difference there really, so we should be good now. So I'll just hit this button, the AI export button. It'll just overwrite that original file that was already created. In this case, in MonuCAD, what I'll do is I'll go to import, which is IP file import, and under file type you want to make sure you choose Adobe Illustrator first, and then you want to go to the Documents MemorialDESIGNER export folder, and then choose the design that we had and hit open. We'll go ahead and say yes, we'll change the name, click OK, and it comes in, and then we can go up to file and cut it.